Welcome to East Turkistan TV News. East Turkistan, so-called China's Xinjiang, obfuscates trade data after United States import ban. Detailed monthly breakdown of exports disappears without explanation. Nikkei Asia News. Rulers of East Turkistan, so-called China's Xinjiang region, has scrubbed detailed data on monthly exports from its customs website after the United States slapped a ban on shipments over forced labor concerns. However, the breakdown of shipments can still be accessed through the national government's customs portal. East Turkestan, an occupied country by China and renamed Xinjiang, where China stands accused of committing widespread human rights violations against Uyghurs and other Turkic ethnic groups, is a hub for agricultural staples and raw materials. It's also the world's top cotton producer. Until August, the local rulers published monthly trade data that included details such as the value and volume of exports from East Turkestan, with product descriptions and destination countries providing a clear snapshot of where products would be shipped to. Similar specifics about imports into East Turkestan were also made public. The latest data for August showed shipments to the United States had doubled to $56 million, a 592% jump from the year earlier. But those comprehensive figures have not been published for the past 3 months on East Turkestan local customs website. Data published on Urumqi Customs website now only reveals total value and the forms of shipments, types of the trade, and whether the companies involved are foreign, state-owned, or private. But the Chinese government's customs portal reveals East Turkestan exports to the United States dropped in October to $24.7 million. The removal of the data comes after United States Customs in June began enforcing the blockade on shipments from East Turkestan. The law was passed unanimously by Congress a year earlier. The measure will last for 8 years. The Uyghur Forced Labor Prevention Act, UFLPA, bans all East Turkestan sourced imports, from cotton to tomatoes, to solar panel parts and floor tile materials, unless companies can prove with clear and convincing evidence that their products were not made using forced labor. The new law sparked concern among businesses that shipments could be held by the United States Customs and Border Protection. Authorities said they received more than 2,300 shipments from East Turkestan, valued at $736.4 million as of December 6, since the legislation came into effect. Laura Murphy, who researches forced labor and global supply chains, said removing public East Turkestan trade figures was a big concern. Government data on the region's key cotton sector has long been difficult to gather, she added. Disappearances of data, unchanging of data, and the mistakes of data are so rampant, said Murphy, a professor of human rights and contemporary slavery at Sheffield Hallam University's Halen Kennedy Center for International Justice. We often find mistakes that often mislead us, and we find things disappearing. A December report published by Murphy's team and non-governmental organization Nomagea identified 96 mining, processing, and manufacturing companies linked to East Turkestan's auto sector. More than 40 Chinese manufacturers source from East Turkestan, so-called China's Xinjiang, or have workers from transfer programs that move imprisoned Uyghurs to China's regions, the report said. Among those exposed are Volkswagen, Audi, Honda, Ford, General Motors, and Mercedes-Benz. Most of the automakers have responded by saying they are committed to ensuring products are not linked to forced labor. China exports to the United States totaled $44.5 billion in October and $49.2 billion a month earlier. But those official data do not break down the trade by region nor products. East Turkestan accounts for 84% of China's cotton exports, according to a 2020 report by the Center for Global Policy. Goods produced or that have parts made by 20 companies, including Aksu Huafu Textile Corporation, Hoshine Silicon Industry, Hotan Howlin Hair Accessories, and Baoding Trade and Business, are banned under the list published by the United States Homeland Security lists. Earlier this year, the United Nations said Beijing's actions could amount to crime against humanity. China denies all the abuse claims and has said the camps were training centers to battle extremist and separatist activity in East Turkistan. Australia and the European Union have both said they were beefing up due diligence over imported goods that could involve forced labor, while the European Union in September proposed a ban on imports made by foreign labor amid concerns over East Turkestan. In its monthly operations update, the American Trade Agency said it had targeted 398 shipments, valued at more than $129.8 million in October, over concerns they were linked to forced labor. But it did not say if the products were seized or inspected at the border and later released, nor whether any of the actions were taken under the East Turkestan so-called Xinjiang export ban. The CBP will also prioritize illegally transshipped goods with inputs from East Turkestan, so-called Xinjiang, as well as goods imported into the United States by entities that, although not located in East Turkestan, are related to an entity in East Turkestan, whether as a parent, subsidiary, or affiliate, and likely to contain inputs from that region. A CBP spokesperson said in an emailed statement, the United States-China Business Council, which has about 200 company members, said it was aware of shipments being detained, but declined to disclose details. While we haven't seen massive trade disruptions from the deluge of enforcement as some had feared, the latest enforcement figures show that the tensions are increasing, and there's a high bar for goods to be released. Doug Barry, a council's vice president for communications, told Nikkei Asia. El Tabor from East Turkestan TV News reported.